What's up, United? We just wanted to let you know, I wanted to let you know, we really do miss you. And I know we've said that before, but I'm going to say it again because it's true. I miss you guys. I miss seeing you around every week. But what I want you to hold on to is that as long as this feels like, as weird as this feels like, this is still something that's temporary. It's a season. But we'll get through this and we'll be back and we'll be connecting again and having fun and doing everything that you guys are used to. But hold on to the fact that this is just a season. It's just temporary. And so, I just wanted to encourage you with something today. But before I do that, I have a confession to make. I need to confess something to you. You guys are the first ones hearing this except for my wife and one other person, but I gotta let this one out. I made a mistake. And so on the staff team, what we do is we take turns rotating through these phone calls that we make. And what we do is we make these phone calls and people will call in on the other end, and there can be a whole bunch of other people that call in. And what we'll do is we'll walk through a devotional, some sort of encouragement, something to help people get through their week. And maybe YouTube's not their platform, Instagram, and the phone is just the best platform for those specific people. And so we've been rotating through, and this morning I was scheduled to do my call, and let's just say I didn't make it there. And what happened was I didn't even realize that I was supposed to be on that call until about 3:30 this afternoon. What happened was I'm walking upstairs, I'm walking up to my office, and you know when it just clicks, and I just froze right on the stairs. And I said, oh no. And I walked up the rest of the stairs, and instead of turning into my office, I turned into Rick's office, and I said, dude, I made a huge mistake. I totally spaced out and forgot about this phone call that I was supposed to do. I forgot about this devotional, and it never happened. And meanwhile, I need to apologize if you were on that phone call. Some people I know, they might have been on that phone call. I am sorry that you were there and I wasn't, and I let you down. But see, what happened when I went to Rick's office was he said, well, there's nothing we can change now, and it's gonna be okay. And that made me think of what Paul said to the Ephesians in Ephesians chapter 4. Here's what he said. He said, always be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, and this is the key part, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. It's all because of your love. And see this idea of making allowance for other people's faults. See, when we make allowance for other people's faults, we can start to coexist a little bit better. We can start to live together a little bit better. We can start to work together a little bit better, because when someone makes a mistake, we don't just tear them apart and tell them how terrible they are. And see, sometimes that's how we go through life, and sometimes that's how things work out. But Paul's saying that's not what we're supposed to do at all. We're supposed to see someone's fault, see someone's mistake, and we make a little bit of allowance for it, and then we work to improve it a little bit. If we're not making that allowance, then we're going to have a hard time getting along with anyone. See, I'm bringing that up because I think that's where a lot of us are right now. See, we've been at home for a long time. And maybe we've been trapped with the same people for what seems like an eternity. Even though, remember, this is just temporary. This is a season. But it feels like a really long time. And so maybe you've been cooped up with your parents for a little too long. Maybe you're a little too close to your brother or your sister, especially if you share a room with them. And see, what we need to remember is that everyone has faults. I have faults. You have faults. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. And what Paul's reminding us is that it's so key for us to be able to make allowance for those faults. So yeah, we're with these people in and out for a long time, day after day, for what feels like a very long time. And what we start to do is we start to pick up on every mistake, every fault that this person has. And what we end up doing is we start to demonize them. We start to realize how bad this person is, how terrible they are. And we start victimizing them. We start making them the victim and not even the victim, the villain. And we say how terrible they are. They're the evil supervillain. We're forgetting to make allowance for their fault, just like hopefully they're making allowance for the faults that we have. And see, sometimes that's really hard. And that's why Paul continues into this next verse. Verse 3, here's what he says. This is so important. He says, make every effort, not make some of the effort, not try some of the time. He says, make every effort. Some versions say, work hard. He says, make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. So he says that you're making allowance for people's fault because of love, but he says that you are making every effort. You are working hard for the sake of unity, and you're doing it because of the peace that you have received from God. See, it's not always easy to make allowance for people's fault, but when we do it because we are making the effort. So why? So that we can stay united. That way we can stay on the same page. We can stay in a good, healthy relationship. I know sometimes that just doesn't make sense, or maybe it just seems a little confusing or hard how to make that actually happen. But think about maybe who you're struggling with right now, and think about how if you were to work hard, if you were to make every effort that you could to be united with that person, to be on the same page with that person, it might not be doing the things that you want to do. It might take you out of your comfort zone a little bit. But would it help build a healthier relationship with that person that you are so close to? See, Paul says, make allowance for the person's faults and then make every effort for unity. You know, I thought when I've seen this play out in my life, and one place that I saw that was my senior year, and I had to write my term paper to graduate from my English class. And what happened was I had a teacher who, she understood my faults. She understood my shortcomings, right? And for me, many of you might know this, but I'm not a good reader. I really struggle at reading. It's something that takes me a very long time. I have to read and then reread and then reread because I just don't understand what I'm reading. It's something that I've struggled with my whole life. And I had this English teacher who actually saw that in me, and she made an allowance for my fault. So when everyone else had to write their term papers on books that were like this big and ginormous and humongous, and I saw that, and I'm seeing what they're having to do, and I am freaking out. And she came and she says, Justin, I want you to write your term paper on this book. And she gave me a nice little book like this, that I could just work through, and I could take my time and I could get through it because she knew my fault, and she made an allowance for my fault. And see what that did, and this is a little bit different, but what that did was that brought a sense of unity into what I was doing. Me and her, we were on the same page. Me and her, we were cool. We were good. And I was able to do the work that she needed to get from me and that she wanted to get from me. Why? Because she made an allowance for my fault, and she changed the way that she did things. She put a little bit of extra work to find just the right book for me. She worked hard. She made every effort so that way me and her could be on the same page for the sake of unity. See, I would challenge you to do the exact same thing. Look at who maybe you're struggling with, who maybe you are projecting as the villain in your life right now. And can you maybe just pause and say, well, what is it about that person that's getting on my nerves so much? And then stop and think to yourself, do I really have to let what that person is doing bother me so much? Or can I make an allowance for it? Can I say it's really not that big a deal? It's just a quirk. It's a pet peeve of mine that I don't like it, but that's just who that person is. Can you find a way to maybe make an allowance for that? And then can you take it the next step further? And can you do everything that is possible in your family, in your house? Maybe it's in your distance learning group. Maybe it's in the Zoom calls that you're in. Maybe it's in the work for some of you guys that are working. Can you make every effort for the sake of unity? Can you work hard for the sake of unity? See, I find that if you would take those steps, you would see that what is maybe bugging you so much would start to maybe pull less on your heart. It wouldn't bother you just as much. And you know what? This is something that we all need to get better at. In fact, I feel like I need to apologize to you guys because I think you've seen a really poor example of the church working hard for the sake of unity. See, that's something that we just need to strive to get better at. And so if you're seeing that and you're saying, hey, what is going on here? Would you just know that this is something that we all need to improve on and that we can all work harder towards? I'd love for you to be a part of that and to work with us as we, as one church, as a youth group, as united, can we work hard for the sake of unity and make allowance for each other's faults and for the faults of the people around us. You guys are awesome. Can't wait to see you soon, and we'll catch up.